All right, you're live with the NAACP presidents. This is your local branch president, Eugene Collins, alongside here with our statewide convention president, President Michael McClanahan is here in the studio with us today. We're going to be jumping into some fun topics here today. But President McClanahan, we can go ahead and jump it out with you and let the folks get some news that they can use.
Eugene, it's always good, man, to be here with you every Sunday afternoon, man, talking about the news that people could use, man. Because the more you know, the better decisions you're able to make. And those decisions you make will affect you, your family, your community, and the election that you may lead. Eugene, you know it's less than 30 days and counting for the next round of elections that will take place, the fall elections. You know, they were pushed back because of Hurricane Ida. And so the election right up on us next 30 days. So if you haven't registered to vote, now's your time to register to vote, because every vote counts. You have to know and understand that your vote is your voice. Most times you see I have something dealing with, a shirt on dealing with voting, because our lives really depend on our ability to vote. So if you haven't registered to vote, please register to vote, but get your game plan together for voting. Voting is too important. There's a whole lot of stuff going on. We have some elections here locally. If you're in other parts of the state, you know you have some local elections. So let's get ready to vote, because when we vote, we win. Okay, Gene, you know the other thing, every 10 years, this thing called redistricting and reapportionment comes up. You know, that's where lines are drawn based upon the shift in population. We can know, as I talked about previously, Baton Rouge is now, based upon the numbers, is the largest parish, East Baton Rouge, the largest city on another minority seat in Congress. We're looking to have another minority seat in Congress. We used to have two. And based upon the lines being redrawn, one was taken from us. So, you know, if you have an idea of running for an office, we at the school board, the council, those lines are going to be redrawn, because clearly, if in East Baton Rouge parish would make up a majority of the people in the parish. So therefore, we have a 7-5 black-white makeup of the council. Clearly now, when the lines are redrawn and our majority is no longer a minority, then we should take up majority of the seats on the council. So we're excited about that. So if you haven't, if you think you want to run for an office, you have any inkling about running for an office, now's your opportunity. School board seats, we should have another seat there. So get your feet wet, start doing your homework, start walking the streets, talking to people, getting involved, because we need all good bodies on the streets and in those seats. Also, Eugene, you know, Hurricane Ida was here just a couple months ago. It seemed like about a month ago. It seemed like it's been here just yesterday, because I was traveling through between Baton Rouge and Hammond and New Orleans the last couple weeks, and Eugene, is still devastation. It's still devastation. So if you've been affected by Hurricane Ida and you haven't gotten some relief, please contact our office, the NAACP office here, at 225-343-1075. That's 225-343-1075. Let us connect you some resources to help you get you and your family back on track. And I know sometimes recovery moves slow, but be persistent, because a lot of these things are done by FEMA, which is government, slow. The state, which is government, slow. And so Red Cross is normally slow, but we have a partnership with the Red Cross. So with our good friend Crystal Ellis, they're no longer slow. They're a little bit faster. So if you need some help, call us at 225-343-1075. Eugene, I was so, Grandma's homecoming was yesterday. I was going to go up there, but didn't get an opportunity because I'm on the national board seat. But we had something here I was so excited about that. Southern's homecoming is this weekend, and I'm a Southern grad, and I want all of y'all to know that when we have homecoming, it's a week-long event. If you've never been to a homecoming on New York, please come down. Please make your way there. But keep the foolishness where you're at your home in your garbage can, because there's no place for that. I like to say condolences to the family of Dr. James J. Precious. He was the chancellor when I was here, Gene, back in the 80s. He was a wonderful chancellor. Did some great things. He and his wife, Dr. Jewel Precious, she was taught over the political science department. that family, man, has meant so much to me. When I got to Southern, Karen Precious became a friend of mine, and that was the Chancellor's daughter. And we had an opportunity, man, to really understand how things work on college campuses. Really gave an opportunity, man, to kind of mentor me and kind of give me some directions where I was headed to. So, but he's going to be in the sky with his wife. So our hearts go out to the families of Dr. James J. Precious. Eugene, on yesterday, I had an opportunity to partake in the activities you had with NAACP, the Superintendent of Education, CATS, bus system, Chief Murphy Paul, and others at, I think it's Scotland Square Park.
Scotlandville Plaza.
Scotlandville Plaza. Eugene, I had a wonderful time. It was the kickoff of our Stop the Violence tour. If you didn't get an opportunity to come out, you missed something. But bring your family to hear and talk to those entities that's going to make this violence thing turn around. Provide opportunities for jobs, provide opportunities for education, provide opportunities for you to sit down and talk to the chief about things that are going on in your community so that we can be proactive instead of stop being reactive. Had a good time, Gene. The group In Tune was there, and it got me to get on stage, Gene. And I'm telling you, I told the manager of In Tune, I want my money, I want my royalties, because ain't nothing free.
Ain't nothing free, not even the impromptu performances are free. But President McClanahan, you ran out some good things, but I want to touch on one thing. We talk about the census, the reapportionment. They're predicting that is probably about 7 to 10% off, so that black people in this country were actually undercounted. Now, we know there's a lot of different factors in that, and we did not do a great job on the census work. So that's where it makes voting even more paramount. So some of these seats that we thought we'd get because of just how the numbers are shaking out, you may not see as many, but we still should win additional seats.
Jane, I want you to know the NAACP has been working on redistricting and the census for the last year or two. And, we're trying to tell the local municipalities and local jurisdictions, man, these are the things you need, because we've also been having a redistricting roadshow. We have the legal defense come down, and our lawyers all over the state of Louisiana been talking about reapportionment. And, we're going to sit there. We have maps already drawn, Eugene. We got maps drawn to let people know what it should look like. And if they deviate too far from the maps, Gene, we prepared to file a lawsuit, because when we sue, we win.
And I'm glad you brought that up, President Klein, because some of this stuff I only think is going to be worked out in court, right? So I think entities need to prepare for just that. I don't think, the screaming and hollering and meeting and social media videos are going to get this done. It's got to happen with the lawyers behind some tables. So right. Folks are prepared for that. And President Klein, I want to bring this up. John Mack was arrested, and John Mack is in the center of what we believe to be a sex trafficking operation. He was arrested again on 2 felonies. That was after being arrested in Jefferson Parish for a misdemeanor sexual battery involving a minor. If we lay that out, that charge does not exist involving a minor. So we saw that happening over the weekend. The Advocate reported that he was arrested in Livingston Parish, charged with 2 felonies, both of those felonies associated to a minor. And nobody's talking about this, President McClanahan, and I don't understand it. Because we're talking about R. Kelly, we're talking about Bill Cosby, right? But we're not talking about something that's happening in our own backyard, affecting little girls that we can actually reach out and help and put our hands on. I don't understand it. I do understand how this man has escaped prosecution for so long, because he's a part of a family in Livingston Parish that are political royalty, right? So he has not been touched. There's a story. You can read this in the Advocate. You don't have to take my word for it, right? Because some folks look at this.
Nobody believes it. You say, right?
You read this in the Advocate at this point, right? I mean, he attacked the young lady in 2015, blocked her car, pulled weapons on her and stuff like that, and was not charged, right? Even on the misdemeanor sexual battery involving a juvenile, where the arrest took place in Jefferson Parish. You can Google all this stuff. Google the Advocate. Leah Skeen is the reporter on the case. Google it. You can Google all this stuff. He was arrested on a misdemeanor sexual battery with something involving a kid. for a charge that should not exist, and given a $5,000 bond on that particular charge, right? And then, like a week later, we saw a pastor down there in Jefferson Parish arrested for the same thing, right? He was charged with multiple felonies. I think his bond was somewhere around $350,000, which he was charged appropriately, right? That's exactly what he should have been charged with. But how can you have essentially the same thing happen? And you have a white man that's a part of a very politically connected family in Livingston Parish. They got a $5,000 bond as opposed to a black preacher. They got a $350,000 bond. Now, I know what it is and why people aren't paying attention to it, because nobody cares what happens to folks that touch over the girls. I don't. You know, if I could roll them under a building, I would, right?
Right.
But that's what you call inequitable, right? And John Mack should have gotten the same thing in Jefferson Parish that preacher got in Jefferson Parish. Now, the whole other deal to this is like these things about John Mack, John Mack, Ms. Victoria Porter has been the lead advocate in all this, and she's been reporting this from a facility at DCFS for a period of time. And nobody said anything. Nobody moved on that. Nobody moved quick enough. It was only until she started moving and actually talking about this publicly that arrests started happening. And again, we are on top of R. Kelly. We're on top of Bill Cosby. We know exactly what all of that stuff is, right? But we don't know what's happening in our own backyard with a guy with a last name that's connected to political royalty that has escaped charge after charge for the last 20 years. And you can't say that this isn't happening. Again, you can Google this, you can read it, you can see it. It's in the Advocate. It hasn't ran on the television yet. I know we don't like reading, but you want to Google this, right? And follow this, because I get what R. Kelly did, and it's terrible. But we got this happening in our own backyard,
right?
And we're not paying attention to it. And there's something egregious and really messy and nasty that's happening down there in Livingston Parish. And let me just say this. DCFS still ain't even made a statement about that case. We would not take this from anybody else, but we are turning a blind eye to this. And I don't know why, because it's involving little girls. I don't get it, President Clinton.
Eugene, you know, over the last 2, 3, 4, maybe longer, 5 years, Louisiana, the I-10, I-12 corridor has been the gateway for sex trafficking and drug dealing. We know that. I-10, I-12 corridor has been the main drag strip for sex trafficking and drug trafficking. And clearly, you know, they tell me that the numbers are staggering as to the number of young ladies here that go missing. They go missing. You know, they were just walking down the street and they missed. You know, I want to relate a story that I heard that this van tried to approach a little girl in some neighborhood here in town, and the guys, they didn't get away, man. The guys and the mom and them beat the young man up, whoever it was that was trying to take this little girl. But that might only be one stop. There are so many others that don't get stopped, who nobody knows, they go missing. The other part to this is when a youth is, especially a young kid is missing, they have an alert that goes out, an Amber Alert. I'm starting to see it here now that the Amber Alert has some discriminatory actions to it, you know, because the black kids, brown kids, and kids of color, you know, that alert don't happen so fast when that comes to them, man. They say, well, give it 24 hours and 48 hours. You know, 24 hours, man, I could be cleaned up in that. I could be in Canada in 24 hours.
Yeah. And Mike, we saw that discrepancy with Kawan Charles. You know, where the standard practice that should have normally been taken with missing kids wasn't taken. And a lot of that was because of the system's bias towards his kid, right? That it wasn't reported in time. And even that, there's a lot of truth to what you're saying, because statistically, media outlets report missing black kids a lot less. That's just what it is. Now, I think that has improved since Kawan Charles. So you see it everywhere now when kids go missing, right? It's all on social media, it's everywhere. So you can see that something shifted and changed at some point after the death of Kawan Bobby Charles. But before then, you didn't see a whole lot of it. Statistically, you can Google this too.
Yeah.
It was a proven fact that our media outlets reported it somewhere around 30 to 40% less. So that was a real thing. And we got to remember, Amber went missing, and Amber got a whole alert.
Yeah.
And I said this last year, I think, in front of the Capitol once, maybe it's time we need a Kiwanis alert.
Yeah.
Something specific to black kids. Because when black kids go missing, when things happen to black kids, sometimes the circumstances surrounding black kids are just a tad bit different. And folks hate to say black and white, and you get all this stuff, well, we shouldn't talk about, everything's not about race and all that crap. But stuff like John Gruden happens because we stop realizing that stuff exists. And you don't want to beat the horse all the time, but it's there. You got to talk about it because it's so embedded in American culture.
You know, Eugene, you bring up a real good point, man. How there's biases in reporting about black persons of color are missing. You know, I remember on the national scene when that wife or the girlfriend was missing, and the white young lady and the white boyfriend. You know, they had Indians, indigenous people, Native Americans talking about our kids are missing every day, all day. Nobody says anything about it, you know. And I remember being pulled into some conversations and some calls about, you know, making sure that the world, making sure that everyone knows that this is a going on practice in terms of missing Native American, missing black kids, but they don't get the media attention that this young lady got. I think all of them deserve attention. If my daughter's missing, I want the whole world to know, be on the lookout for her. So I can understand a parents need to know, and the parents want everybody to know about their kids. But the media needs to do a better job of reporting it all. Report it all or don't report any.
So they have been doing a better job, right? I think since Bobby Corn trial, statistically, I read an article on that, it improved, right? But the problem still is with the law, you know, like, should the age be extended? Should it cut off at that age? If a kid goes missing at 18, is that still the same thing, right? So that's still somebody's baby, no matter how we look at it, right?
Right.
So it's some parameters around that law I think that they just might need to take a look at, because I'm not saying it's not working. I'm just saying it seems like it ain't working well. Yeah. That's just me. That's my opinion there, because I know some of y'all at home writing, trying to fact check this stuff. But that's my opinion.
As Eugene Collins said that.
Yeah, I said it. You know, President Clinton, in addition to just that happening locally here now, you know, our thoughts and prayers go out the trooper that lost his life. But at the same time, we can't forget that Ronald Reagan's family is still seeking justice. And we can't let that get under the rug in any way. It's been far too long. It shouldn't have taken this long. We saw a video of a man being drugged across rocks. And still, the system has moved very slow in bringing these officers to justice. And I think about that sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
I think about
all the time.
Yeah, when we lost a trooper,
yeah.
I'm just going to say this, right? They didn't stop until that guy was in handcuffs. And he's in jail now, charged with multiple things and all that good stuff. That's the same equity the community is asking for. Thoughts and prayers go out to that trooper, that fallen trooper and his family, man. It's a tragedy from everything you hear. He was a good guy. But the community needs that same type of response when officers commit crimes. Because when you look at what happened to Carl Cavalier, and for those of y'all that don't know Carl Cavalier, Google it, find out who he is, because this brother risked everything, risked his career, so that we can know the truth about some things. That's just what it is. And you can argue about his motivation in doing that and all of that stuff, and those and all that, but he basically put everything on the line to make sure that you knew about what's happening in the state police. And we haven't done enough to make ourselves familiar with this guy. And this don't happen a ton, right? Because we've been asking this for years. Good officers need to do it. Stand up and say something if they see something. A couple of them locally did. And we haven't been there to support them the way we should have. I'm just going to keep it real.
Keep it real, G.
A lot of that's due to the way we feel about cops, right? But not every cop is a bad cop, and not every cop is against us. We've seen examples of 2 cops that were willing to stand out and say, hey, I'm not willing to see this done in my community anymore and not say anything about it. And Carl Cavalier is one of those officers. But how in the world, what world do we live in where Carl Cavalier can actually lose his job before some of the guys involved.
Right.
Like, and I get it. I've heard this from day one. Lamar Davis is by the book. Colonel Davis is going to be by the book. He is going to do things right. He's going to do things by the letter. And President McClanahan, I always ask myself, right? Why every time we get a black person in leadership position, they got to be by the book?
By the book.
I saw a whole man drug on the side of the road by shackles through rocks and videos that disappeared in some vault somewhere and weren't found until later. But when we get African Americans in leadership roles, we got to hit it day by the book. Right? Nah, if we losing, I want somebody with their hands in the mud. I don't care how we win.
Right.
If we losing, like, why we always got to be by the book? I don't get that. And I don't know what your thoughts are, man, because that aggravates me when I hear like the black leaders say, well, we're gonna do it the right way. When ain't nothing in the system right. So if you come out doing it the right way and this joker operating in the mud, we ain't winning.
Right.
We need somebody with their hands dirty, right? We need somebody to stand up and say what Chief Murphy Paul said about Blaine Saliboy, right? Like that other stuff, that ain't really working for us. That's called respectability politics. That's not what we need to evoke change. And this is not meant to be critical of Colonel Lamar Davis, right? Because I think he's made some positive changes.
Yes.
But it can't be a system that exists where the officer that told on the officers that committed crime gets fired first. That everybody on that scene should be jailed.
Got some consequences,
right?
Right.
And we saw John Clary was on the sideline of Louisiana Tech, but this man got a letter saying that you intended on firing him. Like at some point, for a man like that, rules should have went out the window.
Yeah.
And civility and the need to appear transparent needed to be there, because now you're going to ask for people to trust you, right? When the one guy that came out was totally transparent with the public, you told him you were going to fire him.
Yeah.
Like, so how am I going to tell people to ever trust you again?
Right.
Like, and then that's just what it is. And again, like, this is not meant to be critical, and I don't want.
So you ain't being critical. You just stating fact, keeping it real.
That is facts. Like it should have been circumstances. The rules should have been changed for him, whatever. The policy should have been remade. Oh, you know what? Y'all should have did what y'all have done for white officers for decades.
Yeah.
So I don't want to hear he's by the book if the book was never written for people that look like you and I.
Yeah. The book has so many gray areas, Gene. I remember when there were these two black officers in Marksville, I think it was, was shooting. They were trying to apprehend a young white male suspect in a car with his little boy, and when they tried to run over them with the car, they started shooting. And the state police superintendent at the time personally went and arrested those two. They were constables in another jurisdiction. So if he wanted to say, I have statewide jurisdiction, I'm going to exhort it, Colonel Davis needed to take from his playbook. And if he did it, that means it must be okay, because there was nobody said it wasn't okay, and those guys were doing time. And so I say this, Gene, we always have to say, well, we got to be by the book. The book is this. If it's not illegal or unethical, that means you can do it.
Yeah.
If it's not illegal or unethical, do it. So that means if in this particular case, those white officers were out there seen beating this guy, fire. Well, they got civil service protection. Civil service means that I should have a hearing and an opportunity to be heard. Don't mean you can't be fired. Fired. All of them should have been fired. As a matter of fact, they should have been fired and arrested the same day. That means that we have a district attorney up in another parish somewhere that's sitting there twiddling his thumbs. Stop twiddling your thumbs, brother. I know you and I are friends way back then. Do your job. Don't make me have to come do your job for you. And then you got a low-down attorney general, the head law enforcement officer of the state of Louisiana. He should do his job. He should have seen to those guys being arrested and charged with murder.
Yeah, and President Clay, and you bring up great points, because when we look at this, those troopers, not troopers, but those officers that you're talking about in Marksville. If I'm not mistaken, I can remember the state police colonel at the time driving to Marksville to arrest those two officers themselves. So that's when they say this thin blue line and all that stuff. When you look at who was actually prosecuted and charges were brought against, that thin blue line get a lot blacker when it comes to officers that were actually put in jail. That's just what it is. You gotta take my word for it. Google it. That's just what happened. So, like when we hear this by the book stuff, that's crap. I'm just gonna say it. That's crap, because you can say, well, they'll sue us. Those troopers will sue us, right? If it's another system, those officers will sue us. Let's keep it real for a second. Big Crump and Lee Merritt are about to have a vacation home in Louisiana. Right. That's how much they're coming out here to sue y'all, right? Ron Haley, it seems like he's suing y'all every week. Ryan Thompson picking up the way he's suing y'all. So you can't tell me that one or two troopers suing you is any more than the lawsuits that you're about to get. So I don't buy that, right? I buy that there's a culture that wants to protect policing the way it is, and they can see that system is fading away, no matter how you look at it, right? It is fading away, and people want to hold on to that system through whatever, right? And we got to remember where this system started. Let's not forget where this system started. Now, you can say what you want to say about the history of the origins of policing, but we know in the Deep South what the origins of policing is, and there's a faction of folks that want those origins to always be remembered. It may not be practiced in the same context. I ain't gonna I ain't go that far.
Go for it, Gene.
But that's what it is, and let's just keep it real for a second. Like when the slave revolts came up, because you first start seeing some of the black officers, not in what we would think of black officers in the current text, but in the historical context, they were sometimes brought in to put down slave rebellion.
Yeah,
black officers.
That's right. Black officers.
You can Google that, right? So to my black officers, make sure that you're not one of those flunkies that's just sent to put down the slave rebellion. Because if you are, history gonna remember you that way.
That's right.
The socially accepted things in the time, like you can go to work and feel good about yourself, right? And if you live in Baton Rouge, it's a big plantation-like town. Right?
Big plantation, Gene. Big plantation.
What our grandchildren are gonna write about, how do you want to be remembered? In those writings, is it making sure that you were liked in the moment, or actually doing some things that historically made sense, right? That push people that look like you and I forward. And for some reason today, we find that to be less important for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I don't get it, but that just seems to be the way it is. And you can even see that with crime in the streets, right? Because we can say what we want to say about what the arguments are going to always be, why y'all killing each other, right?
Yeah.
Now, I know the factual context of that. Idiots typically say black on black crime because there is no such thing as black on black crime. It's crimes of proximity. If you're going to kill somebody that look like you, statistically, that's just what it is. White people kill white people. Black people kill black people. Asian people kill Asian people. That's just the way it works out if you go anywhere in this world, right? So black on black crime, that's an idiotic term. But that does not mean that it's not a problem in our community. And we don't have that significance itself, but that significance itself isn't had on any level, because our leaders go down there and we'll elect them. They'll get elected with 90% of the votes being African American, right? 95% of the votes in some districts being African American, and then tell us they got to serve the entire city. The entire city didn't vote for you. So that's idiotic itself to say that.
That's right.
And you don't hear Republicans saying that. That's what I respect about Republicans. If you're a Republican and you don't do what Republicans want you to do, they're going to find a way to get you out there. And I think we need to take that same hard line with our leaders.
Gene, you're so right, Gene. I've been here in Baton Rouge about 40 years, and you're so right. This is a plantation town. The crowd mentality is so prevalent here, man. If we ever get together, man, on one thing, but I tell people, we ought to be able to get two issues together. Always around job development, we could always get together on economic development. Economic development, we can always get together on education. Those two things right there, education and job development. That's it.
Yeah. 3,
economic development. So let's get together on those items and let's move those items forward. We have a black mayor. We're about to have a majority black council. And so we ought to be able to move. We fight civil rights, but now it's time for us to fight for some silver rights. You know, the money comes to every corner, but across the tracks to our corner. You know, the money that's in our community, it leaves out, never comes back. The money in our community back in the days, it used to be circulating 4 or 5 times over. Now, it's gone in less than 10 minutes. Gone to another part of town or gone across the water overseas somewhere. But Gene, another point you brought up, Gene, in terms of the state police, and I want to make sure they understand this. When that young man killed those church members up in South Carolina, he left out of there. They found him. They took him to get a burger. Make sure he had good, clean, decent clothes on. They didn't put the handcuffs on him too tight. They allowed him to be smiling and happy-go-lucky, right? And you talk about when those bikers were shooting at one another at Twin Peaks. I think 5 or 6, 7, 8 bodies, 7, 8 people were killed. The police officer can be seen since nobody was in handcuffs. They were sitting on the corner, on the curbing. They was giving them water, passing burgers to them. Y'all all right? You know, I think there's not been any charges brought. I could be wrong on that particular instance. But in this particular instance where the trooper got killed and they knew who it was, you know, more times than not, when those troopers hear that, one of their very own, and the police officer, when they hear one of their very own has been killed, they go out to get her. Rarely do he come back alive. Now, lately, as you can see, I gave you evidence of where the white person is committing a crime. He'll come back. Not only will he come back alive, he'll come back alive in full off some burgers and fries. This guy committed crimes in 3 or 4 different parishes. Allegedly killed an officer. But yet, when they called him, came back full of burgers and fries. Where they do that at, G?
Yeah, and in no way are we advocating for anybody's death, but what we're saying is that equitable nature has to exist. And people say, well, the last guy they brought in alive. But let's keep it real for a second. BRPD been bringing in some guys alive, and I think that's solely on the influence of Murphy Paul. State police, on the other hand, that's a whole nother ball game, a whole nother issue there, right? And we've seen the videos. Now you're going to learn about some other cases in a little bit that just say, man, some of them boys are just out there beating the hell out of everybody. But you know, in the same sense, it's definitely a statistical difference when police encounter us, that there's a different interaction, right? And when folks say, I don't believe that, right? When white people tell me that, I don't believe that. And not only just white people, right? Because sometimes black people, depending on what zip code you live in.
Who you talking to?
You know, I'm just going to keep it real.
With right? Personal, Gene, you being nice, they should have been called idiots you're talking to.
Look, those idiots, right? So sometimes depending on the zip code you live in, that may not be your experience. Because in 2021, everything in black and white. You know, some stuff green. So, right. You know, depending on where you live, you could have a different experience.
That's right.
You can't speak to the experience of somebody that lives in 7805 and that community is over police, right? So we have some onus on ourselves in 7805, but make no mistake about it, some of that stuff is systemic. And I don't understand why in 2021 we're getting away from that. And folks will say, well, I made it out of there, I did fine. And they don't really realize whether you believe in the factual nature or not. Always talked about 10% of you Negroes will always get out of there.
Right.
Like, so that you can tell that story and create further division.
You're right.
That's how it's set up. And you ought to take my word for that. Google it. You may not like that I said it, but I'm not lying. Right, and that's one thing we got to lean on. Our friend is texting us, but there's a 36-page document floating right now on that sex trafficking thing with Mr. LaToya Porter, the lead there, and that document is going to be made public here very soon, and the team there has done a terrific job of illustrating and laying out those things so that the public can see what we're talking about. Again, this is happening right here in your own backyard. You got to put your eyes on this. And I understand that R. Kelly and Bill Cosby is just a little bit more salsa to you, but it's happening down the street. It's happening down the street. President Clinton, I want to bring up something else, and it's gonna be a tough topic right here. And, you know, some folks might get upset. Some folks might not watch the NAACP president show on social media anymore, or they may not listen to it on the radio anymore after I say this, but I gotta say it.
Say it, Gene, say it.
At some point, we gotta address racism within white liberalism.
Right.
I think sometimes people don't understand just because somebody is liberal does not mean that they are not racist. And it seems like it's picking up. That's why I wanted to address it. It seems like it's picking up, right? Because I'm just going to be honest with you, right?
Keep it honest, Gene.
I ain't never really been face to face with a Republican that was racist towards me, right? Maybe he just said it in the comment section. He definitely said it in the comment section. Right? He might have messaged me. Yeah, he may have called me with it, but just not to my face. Now, have I had more instances? Yeah. But every time somebody was racist towards me to my face, they were liberal. I'm just going to keep it real with you. That's what it was, right? And we got to address that still exists. That there's some racism under liberal umbrellas.
Oh, yeah.
That we don't talk about. So, and I'm going to use like some of the goings on of challenging black leaders sometimes, right? And we look at Chief Paul, who I think is doing a fantastic job. The best job that anybody could do in those circumstances.
Under circumstances, the best job has been happening in the Baton Rouge Police Department in some time.
And sometimes. So when you look at all those things, but we continuously challenge Murphy Paul because we can. You know, and I think Sheriff Gotro is doing a good job too, right?
Sheriff Sid Gotro is doing a fine job.
He's doing a fine job, but I don't never hear his name called.
He's scared to call his name, Gene.
I'm just saying, I'll never hear his name called about nothing, and that's just what it is. And I think he's doing a fine job, but I'll never hear his name called. Because it's easier to attack a black man. That's just what it is.
Keep it real, Gene. I like that, Gene.
I'm going to keep it real. Just like it's much easier to attack a black woman than a black man. I'll give you a perfect example because it's a double-edged sword, right? Kip Holden was there for 3 terms. And I mean...
15 years, 12 years.
He wasn't always for us, right? And Mayor Broombach, see sometimes the criticism she get that a man didn't get. So it's a double-edged sword. But let's not mistake that sometimes it's just easier to attack a black man. That's just what it is. And sometimes our white leaders sometimes escape that same criticism that we should be giving them heavy. And that ain't a white and black thing, because black people will do it too. We'll hold people that look like us feet to the fire a lot harder than we would other folks. That's just what happens. And I don't know why it's like that. I guess it's got to be a cultural thing. I know you probably have something historical there. But it's just that way. So I say that to say, don't just join in the fight against an African-American in a leadership role unless you understand the reasons why those folks are fighting that African-American. Because if not, if they can't really give you valid reasons on why, they may just be picking a fight because they know they can. But when you start attacking folks or going at folks that are white, that's a much different ball game. That's a much different ball game. Then you got to invoke some racial things.
Different ball game.
And I'm just gonna keep it real. Sometimes some of our friends don't pick up the racial fights. They even want to take race out of certain fights that race is definitely in, right? They want to say, well, maybe we shouldn't bring that up because people don't want to hear. Like, you're right, because y'all don't want to hear tonight. So, but we keep doing that. We don't always get to the results that we want for the people that look like you and I. Because if the law is racist, you want to take it off the books because it's racist. Even if you get it took off the books, if you don't get it took off the books because it's racist, the source of it still might be there. And if the source is still there, guess what? They're not going to change it. Alfred Bell, who's a brother I follow on social media all the time. He's one of the folks I follow the most, probably, right? Him and Richard Laszlo. I love Laszlo. If you ever get a chance to follow Richard Laszlo, he's an amazing follower on Facebook. But Alfred Bell posted something. He said, hey, slavery didn't end, it just got rebranded, repurposed, right? And you can make that argument.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Mass incarceration in this state, right? And I think sometimes because you never dealt with the root cause of why slavery exists, the institution in itself can still be there. And we see that across our institutions still to this day. And again, we talked about this a few weeks ago, but institutionalized racism ain't got nothing to do with the color of the person that's running the institution.
Right. Got nothing to do with that, Gene.
It can still be there, right? And President Clinton, as we look at just recently in this state, and you got state police, right? But then you had the stuff that happened in Vermilion Parish where they were a probation officer was planting drugs on somebody that he was monitoring, and that was caught on video, right? And that that guy had to quit. He was never fired, right? Still not jail, right? In that parish, you had the stuff that we seen down in Jefferson Parish. They just called for body cams down there, so they're gonna finally be purchasing body cams down there. And if you ain't never been to Jefferson Parish, that's a different little place right there, boy. You would think you step back in time when it comes to policing down there. So you see this stuff all over the state, and you see the same issues all over the state, whether it's state police, whether it's Million Parish. The one place that you kind of see improvement is here in Baton Rouge, and that's because you have a police chief willing to investigate these things, right? And we just saw a police chief have the gumption in Lafayette to step up and get rid of somebody, and then they got rid of him.
Right. Right.
They got rid of him. So at some point, I don't think we can leave this up to Louisiana, because I don't think we're going to get it done.
Oh, no.
The feds got to come in and look at this thing from top to bottom, from Shreveport to Terrebonne to just all over the state, because there seems to be something muddy within law enforcement right now that just stinks. And that's not to say every officer, right? Because there are some good police officers, some really, really good officers. We had we stopped the Lions event yesterday, and we had some really good officers out there partnering with us.
Yeah.
When we partner with our officers, and a good number of them are friends. And folks, I saw some folks on their page, on the BRPD page, saying, well, how can you partner with somebody that was protesting against the police? I'm like, you dummy, that's the meaning of being objective. Right? I can agree with you on this and disagree with you on that. But the idiots want you to be
antagonistic all the time. All the time. That's not.
And it ain't like that. It ain't like that. But I definitely think there's something muddy in the water, because you hear about this stuff all over the state right now. And it doesn't seem to be improving, because I think we had that George Floyd kind of phase, and we got tired of it. But I'm going to be honest with you, I've been doing this work a long time. Police violence seemed to have picked up after George Floyd, to me.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know about what you think, President.
Well, Jen, I can tell you, man, I hear this all the time, with the event of the camera phone, body cameras, violence against the community by the police, I don't think it slowed down. You would think, I see, on Facebook all the time, police officers doing some low down stuff. And I need to say that not all police officers are low down, but the ones that are, you know who you are. You low down, and they still doing the stuff, Gene. And you can tell who their friends are, because they run the packs like dogs. So if you find an officer that's doing some illegal stuff, look who he goes to lunch with. Look who he goes to the LSU games with. Look, they do. If he's a police officer, he's doing the same thing. They're doing the same thing. That's what they do. They're friends because they're low down together. They'll go to hell together. So we have to stop them in their tracks. And Eugene, there are a lot of good officers out here that need to continue to say something, because they're speaking up now, speaking out. I think the tide is turning that the bad officers can no longer think they can get away with it and won't get untouched, will not be touched, because the community going to hold them accountable, and we insist that they be fired. I'm just not one. If you was bad, that low down and bad, that you'll do something, even though I got a camera in your face, you don't need to be working. You need to be fired. You need to be doing something, working by yourself, like digging a ditch with your shovel.
That's not the shovel, Mike. And President McClanahan, we near some judges races here. And let me tell you, I'm just going to say this, black judges matter. Like, having black people in those judgeships, that's really important. And the NAACP, with Dr. Johnson at the lead back in the 80s, and Judge Clark, and some of those historic civil rights figures understood the importance of that. So they created additional seats so that we could see black judges for some of those seats, right? That's what happened. But now we have the responsibility of getting out of our bed in a few weeks and making sure that we go vote for some of them. At the NAACP, we can't take a position on a particular candidate, but there are several phenomenal young black women running for judge. And I say young black women because they're all young black women running for judge right now. So get yourself caught up with those elections. Make sure that you understand the candidates that are running those races. Jared Luder, who is our political action chair in the NAACP, He's planning a forum coming up here. The Power Coalition has been doing some forums as well. I think Reverend Anderson, her group is going to be doing a forum as well at some point. But, you know, make yourself aware of who's running and get out there and, you know, vote, because when you get in court and you perform for the first time, that's a little late. Make sure you understand who you're putting in these seats. So get out and vote. That's coming up. And these are those elections, President McClanahan, that can sometimes be overlooked. So make sure that you get out there. And we got a comment here on IG. You got to tell me the comments on Facebook, President McClanahan. I can't see them on my side, but it says we need to have an expected education paid for by the state for police officers. And I agree with that. It's too simple and too easy to be a police officer. Now, it takes more time to be a barber than it does a police officer in Louisiana. And you have to fix that. You got to fix that. I think there should be a higher educational requirements. But in the same time, I think our policymakers, and we're going to have that uncomfortable conversation about paying officers more too, if we increase those standards. But I think it has to be a holistic, systematic approach to making sure that we can just get a better crop of officers. And people can say, well, morale is down amongst police officers, right, and all of that stuff. And I don't get that argument, right? Because if you're losing officers because they can't just walk in the community and beat people up anymore, those are the officers.
They need to be gone. You're right. They need to be gone.
And if people don't want to be police officers because they can't shoot and kill people anymore, or they can't punch people in the nose, or they just can't just slam them up against cars, you might have never needed that person to be a police officer to begin with. So maybe it's just time to educate people on what policing is really supposed to look like. And you might get some folks to come back to law enforcement.
And Gene, the other thing is that if you were a police officer during the time when police officers ran around beating people illegally, shooting and killing unmercifully, and you said nothing, well, this is the time that the community fights back now. So now you want to say, I don't want to be a police officer because everybody's picking on police officers. You had an opportunity to say something then, and we wouldn't be at this point where everybody's pointing fingers at the police officer. We were designed to be work hand in hand, the community and the police. You allowed the police to take away that trust, and now you're seeing what happens when we don't trust you. So those of you saying, I don't want to be because you had an opportunity, so now you don't need to be either. Bye.
Yeah, and that's keeping it up, let's say, all the way 100 right there. But, you know, President McClanahan, as we wrap up in these last 8 minutes, you know, we haven't just stopped the violence stuff. We put some job opportunities out yesterday on the NAACP page. You know, our focus is, hey, we believe that if you want to prevent crime, you got to give people good jobs.
Opportunities.
Now, is that going to work for everybody? No, that's not going to affect the person that bought the gun in the club. That's not going to affect that. But you know what? It can affect the system overall. And good social programming has always been proven effective. But there's something different about this moment. And we know COVID increases and all of that good stuff. And during this moment, most places have saw an uptick in crime post-COVID and in the midst of COVID and how whatever your belief set is on that. But we know that most places are seeing a little bit of an uptick. But at what point do we have a real conversation about who's needed on the ground and where in different places to try to stymie this here? Because I can tell you, it's not that people ain't trying.
Yeah.
Like, if you look around town, every organization just about is out here trying to do something to prevent crime. Just about every organization. The organization that traditionally don't even have that component in the organization are starting crime prevention programs, right? So it's not that people aren't trying, but we don't really know if it's working. Now, we can't say it's not working because people say, well, we set a record for murders. That doesn't really mean that the violence prevention stuff isn't working, because we have to look at all of that. We have to look at, petty crimes. We have to look at all this other stuff. Is crime actually being intervened in the grand scope of things? Because murders are one aspect of crime. So you can't say that it's not working. But people are still killing themselves at a high alarming rate. And as a community, we need to have a conversation about that and see how we get to something that's different, because this ain't the first time we've dealt with this. And people say, well, it's the gangs now. That's not really new, because if you read a little bit, you go to the library, pick up some stuff on Pearl George. Pearl George started a program when she was historical civil rights leader, right? She started a program just to intervene the gang stuff that was happening in the park 30, 40 years ago, right? I admit that might be a little long. I don't have stuff in front of me, but she started a gang prevention intervention that was extremely effective at the time. So this isn't new. It's happened before, right? And Pearl George implemented an intervention that worked at the time. So we got to ask ourselves, what is it that's going to work in the moment? But I don't think it's from a lack of trying. I think everybody's trying. I just don't know if it's sunk in yet. And then we might have to be honest with ourselves too.
That's right.
We might, on some levels, might have to focus on the young people coming up. Hopefully we can change them and get them in better opportunities, because we didn't get to this place overnight. No. And we're not going to fix it overnight, as my sister Ceteria Tate always says, and she's spot on. You didn't get to this moment overnight, right, and you're not going to fix it overnight. It's going to take some time. And that's not saying that you just give up on this generation, but maybe there needs to be a focus on young people to make sure that they don't go down the path of this behavior. And that's one of the things I like about what the school system is implementing, is they're looking to give these kids additional employment opportunities through additional training while they're in high school. Yeah. So you're leaving high school with a viable trade where you can make some money, right? I can tell you, President Clinton, I was a highly educated man. Right. Got my education and all that good stuff. I worked professional jobs for decades now. But I can tell you what, if somebody would have told me at 18 years old that 20 years later I'd still be paying some student loans, I don't know about it with the cash. You know what I'm saying, President Clinton? I might have got me a little welding trade. Yeah. I look at my cousin right now, he's a mechanic doing well in life, ain't got a student loan. But I thought college was the only option, the only track for being successful. Now I don't regret going to college, right? And now I'm gonna still tell my kids to go to college, but we gotta be more open-minded to the kids that don't want to do it. Oh, yeah. And that's what I like about this, is that not only is it giving them a collegiate track, because guess what, they can earn college hours as a part of this program, so they're still on a collegiate track. But in case they don't want to go to college, or in case that don't work out, they have a viable trade option to make a good living. And I think that's how we change crime over time.
You know, Eugene, you're right, man. I was sharing with the superintendent of education, Dr. Narcisse, that education for me shouldn't be cookie cutter. You know, there are a whole lot of opportunities out here. We have to put the right student with the right opportunity. Put a student with opportunity, and he can make it right. You know, the opportunity can make it right for him. We have to do that. You know, and the other thing, we have to stop kicking kids out of school, expelling kids. You know, I don't know the numbers. I did know them. I have the data. How many kids in elementary school have been expelled? If you expel a kid, he's not in school. He's not learning. And so when he grows up, or the older he gets, then he's going to be even more combative, and then the street's going to get him, and you're going to wonder what happened, because he went in a structured environment. So let's keep these kids in a structured environment, something where we can kind of nurture them about life's trials and tribulations and the decisions that they make. Because definitely you want somebody to be a productive member of society, and where we all can be proud, instead of somebody that we've taken care of because he's on the welfare system and or he's in jail.
Yeah, we gotta give folks winning opportunities. Now there's some personal responsibility in there, right? We gotta talk about that. You look at the breakdown of the black family now. You know, that has to be a contributing factor, but that's not only a contributing factor to us, because I talked about crime in proximity. The family is breaking down in this country in general, right? People aren't getting married anymore. They're getting married much older. So if you look across the board, this ain't just a black problem. Yeah. You know, this is very much an American issue right now. But when you attach poverty to it, the outcomes can be very different. Yeah. And that ain't, again, I don't know if that's white or black. I think it's green. We got to talk about that from at some point about how we reach that. Now, President Clinton, going into the last minute, hit your final thoughts.
Gene, you know, it's been a good show as always. You know, this week is homecoming week for Southern University. I'm a Southern grad, Gene. I get so excited, man, to talk about what Southern University has meant to me and my family, to me and the legacy that I leave behind. I set the example because got a couple degrees, and my kids have gotten a couple degrees. My daughter has 2 or 3, and my son is on the way to having 2. And it puts them in a right frame of mind, because they see how me and the mother lived, and the things that we have to endure a lot easier because we've had an education and opportunity. And so I owe it all to Southern University, man. The good, the bad, and the different, because it made me a better person of who I am, because it gave me a good foundation. So go Southern, go SU in the house.
All right, so you see Mike as a Jaguar. I am not, but
Gene is whatever. He's a Cowboy fan. Let's see what the Cowboys win. Where's the pharmacy, Gene? Before you go, I'm gonna tell you about this right quick.
Now you know the Cowboys are gonna win. It's cold. We always gonna come back in the clutch.
That's right.
Dak the man, he having a good year.
Dak from Zawada, you know that, right?
I didn't know Zach was from Zawada.
From a little town in Sabine Parish, really, before he moved to Hall.
Come on, I didn't know that. I knew he was from Louisiana, but I didn't know he was from Zawada.
Yeah, he had his mother and them lived there. In the town in Sabine Parish for a minute, and before they moved to Halton, where he wound up graduating from high school.
Come on, so Dak Prescott from the home of our statewide president.
We give him the love, give him the love. Camp folk, don't forget me over here.
Yeah, and as we close, I just want to remind you, go to the Advocate, Google John Mack, Leah Skeeten. John Mack is the person that was arrested in Livingston Parish for some sexual trauma type things. In Livingston Parish was arrested, and Leah Skeeten is the Advocate reporter that wrote about it. So Google John Mack, Leah Skeeten. The articles are going to pop up in the Advocate. Go read that stuff. Make yourself familiar with it. We talked about it a good deal at the beginning of the program, but if you're just joining, you have a very similar situation to what we saw with R. Kelly right here in your own backyard. The only difference is that he is in a very politically connected family. And there's probably escaped charges for the last decade. So make sure you make yourself aware of that, because that's skating under the radar just because we're not paying attention to it. And I think this is as bad as anything we've seen in this state. So, go and take a look at that. I'm going to be sharing Leah's article here at some point tonight. So it'll be on our platforms. But go take a look at it and find out what that's all about. But you've been here with the NAACP presidents. This is your local branch president, Eugene Collins, alongside our statewide president, President Michael McClanahan. And you're on WTQT 106.1 FM, the baddest gospel station in all of Baton Rouge. And up next, we have Mr. Bo Williams, Walk Around Heaven. Talk to y'all soon.
Good show, Gene.
All right, IG.